having a crack. Tom and Jack having a crack. Tom and Jack having a crack.
Welcome to Tom and Jack having the crack. Very special international edition. We have myself, Tom, and Ram. We are in Stockholm.
We're here doing.
Are we doing good?
Yeah, and then we have Mr. Hester, who is in some sort of tropical rainforest, I believe.
I am indeed, yeah. In North London.
The very tropical climes of North London.
I'm in the studio where they filmed Full Metal Jacket.
It's just with more Labour MPs in a leafy North London suburb. Yeah.
So how was the show, lads?
Oh, it was fucking class, wasn't it?
It was. I still can't believe it happened because it was. Bro, it was the best space you could have asked for, and we had like a hero's entry where we would come from the backstage, the curtains go off, the lights go off. So it was epic by all proportions.
Oh yeah,
it was a sold out show. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
and everyone spoke English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But were people from Sweden or were they from Ireland to England?
All over the place, weren't they?
All over. They were local people as well, but mostly I would say expats.
Yeah. So basically, like anyone who was hungry for English language stand up.
Yeah.
There was a mix of like a lot of Indian, Bangladeshi people. Also, that was like maybe a third or half the crowd.
Definitely.
And then the other half was just like Italians, Swedes, Germans, English, and maybe it was an American, I think, as well.
Yeah,
like
American.
Just anyone who's like, oh, I haven't seen English language stand up in a while.
That's class.
Yeah, which was amazing. It was like 70 odd people, sold out. The theater itself was lovely. It's an improv theater. So it was like a little raised stage, beautiful space. And the people were so nice. Like the people who ran this improv theater, they did like 20 minutes of improv to warm up the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And afterwards, we stayed down a drink with them afterwards and like, we are building a comedy club downstairs. And they showed us it. And it's like, do you know the Comedy Cellar in New York? And we were like, yeah, familiar. Yeah. Like, we want to have a comedy cellar down here. It's like a brick walls. Yeah. And they want to start doing stand-up once a month down there.
Wow. And did they did the improv in English as well?
Yeah. Yes. Which is phenomenal that they're doing improvised comedy in their second language.
Yeah. Jesus.
And it was so funny as well.
So they did 20 minutes, and then what did you do? What did you do then?
So we started with crowd work first. So just to let them know, it's a stand-up show. Because if you start with improv, people probably will think the whole show is that. So we did crowd work together, which was very interesting.
Together, both of you together.
Yeah, it's like
you've done that before, have you?
No, first time. It's like the Dave Attell and Jeff Ross bumping mics.
Bumping mics.
So we just like roasted the crowd together, which was fun.
Mike each.
Yeah. Mike each.
Okay. Right.
But just for like 10 minutes, just to like introduce them to the show, yada yada. And then it was 20 minutes of improv. Then we had a little break. And then Ram came back out, warmed the crowd up. Then I did my set. I brought Ram straight up. And then we did a little game at the end called Agree to Agree, which I think we might just park that and do it.
Do it as a separate show itself.
So you did 10 minutes of crowd work and then you did 20 minutes of improv.
The guys did,
Presence improv.
Oh, okay. So you went on, did 10 minutes, then the improv people came on. Yeah. Then you had a break, then you did, okay. I get it now.
So it's like a 2 hour, 15-minute show.
Yeah.
And the improv guys are coming up to us like, you need to end soon. Like nobody in Sweden goes past 2 hours. This is crazy. And you know what Scandinav's like? They're very like, the show said 10 o'clock. Yeah. I don't know if you guys.
And the funny thing I saw was they didn't really, after we end the show, they were kind of in a rush. I was like, okay, they're going to leave, right? They didn't leave the place for like 4 hours. They were still there. I'm like, why don't you just, do you want to do a show?
Yeah, we went and got dinner, came back to get a beer with them and then hung out for like another 2 hours.
Yeah.
Mate, the craziest thing happened. We're talking about the German thing. It's like during my set, this guy just got up and walked onto the stage.
What?
And I thought I was going to have like a Chris Rock moment. This guy just got up and walked across the stage and I was like, you're right. And he's like, yeah, I'm just getting a chair. I'm uncomfortable. Just this German guy. So I went and got into the crowd, and I was like, "That's such a fucking German thing. Like, this land is unoccupied. I'm just going to walk."
Where was he getting the chair from?
The back of the stage. He just saw a chair at the back
He
of the
saw
stage.
like three improv chairs that they had on the stage, and he just got one of them.
And it's to swap his own chair.
No,
He didn't have a
he
chair.
didn't
He
have a
was sitting on
chair.
the stairs.
We ran out of seats, so he just was sat on the stairs.
Fair enough.
So,
Humble brag.
yeah, sorry, mate. It was terrible. Sold out shows. Nightmare. So yeah, he went and got his chair from the back, and it ended up being like probably like the best bit of the.
No, it was
the
the
set.
highlight. Like people in the crowd, people in the improv group, everyone was saying like, we've not seen anything like this before. And just the way Tom handled it was just like, he was not bashing the guy, but just having a laugh with everyone. It was beautiful.
I kind of admire the guy, to be.
Yeah, for himself. Yeah.
100%. That's what I said. I was like, that is a level of self-confidence no British person will ever know.
And did you give away the other 2 chairs to other people then?
So we kind of did, because so after he does that, one of the improv ladies from the back, she was like, wait, I'm also feeling uncomfortable. So she goes and brings the one chair, and then Tom does his set. He brings me up, and there was one more chair remaining. So for the first 1 minute of my set, I didn't speak a word. I took away the chair, people were laughing. And then there was a sofa. I was going to take the sofa, people were laughing more. Yeah, but it was,
That sounds brilliant, lads.
Yeah, it was really great, and really nice people, and everyone was asking us like, when you're coming back, when you're coming back, when you're coming back. So yeah, fun first way to kick off. I'm looking forward to Copenhagen next week. But,
So you're in Copenhagen next week?
Yeah, but
So
it's a Sunday show next week, isn't it? Yeah.
But are you staying there again tonight in Stockholm?
Yeah. Originally, so there's like, this shows you how little English language stand-up there is. There's one show tonight in English.
Yeah.
There's a place called Laughing House.
Laugh House.
And we tried to get on there, and the guy was like, "Oh, I'm booked out for like months in advance." So we're gonna go and show our faces and chat. The guy who runs the improv is best. He does a podcast with the guy who runs this show. So, because if he came again, you'd want to have like a few shows. Because that's what's fun about like when you come to Paris. I need to send you all those links actually when you're in.
Yeah, for Paris, yeah.
Because that's what's fun about going to Paris or Berlin or Amsterdam is you can do your show or like the main show you're there for, but you can wrap like 5 or 6 other shows around it. And
did you have how did you organize the show? Had you any issue organizing it or marketing it? Or?
It's all very, well, just so in terms of separating those 2 things. So we got this venue because I met Eric, the venue owner, in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So when I was in Amsterdam doing shows with Ram, I met this guy at a venue in Amsterdam, lied. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're touring in Stockholm. Do you know any venues?"
I hope Eric is not watching this.
It'll ended up.
You won't mind now. You sold out, so it's not going to matter now.
Yeah, exactly. And then so we got hold of this amazing venue that we shouldn't really have had access to.
Amazing theater, yeah.
Yeah. And then in terms of marketing it, it was mostly Facebook and
just Instagram ads. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been doing for the last year. Every weekend I go to a new city and just find the Indian people there, find the white woman there. They're going to come to the show.
Yeah.
And
very good.
Literally, it's easier than it sounds. Like people might think like you need to do all these blah, 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 blah to get a tour going. But yeah, it's really just taking initiative. And
we've got a hook. That's the thing. When you come to a place like this, like, an Indian, Sri Lankan, Bangladeshi community, that's one audience to tap into. Expats, that's another audience to tap into. People who love English language stand-up, that's another audience to tap into. So it's hard yards in terms of like you got to get on a flight to Stockholm. It's easier to get on a train to Birmingham or Nottingham.
Yeah.
But it's easier to sell a show because
you've got an easier niche to work on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Less competition. Yeah.
And we put quite a lot of thought into like the artwork, and we made little like trailer videos and like, but it's not complicated. It's not complicated, but just you're selling to an audience that wants to hear about it.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And how did your show in London go?
just 2 weeks ago, right?
Oh yeah.
Two weeks.
That was
Really good.
fun. Yeah.
Really good.
Betsy Trotwood, right?
Betsy Trotwood, smaller audience.
Yeah.
But like, again, we sold it all from Instagram ads and Facebook ads, and sort of like ended close to 40-ish people in the end.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Saturday night, it's like Saturday night, 40
You're
people
competing with a lot of other shows. Yeah.
coming to see. It's like random strangers coming to see you on a Saturday night, and a good mix. That was probably more JC
Yes.
audience.
It was like the first 2 rows were purely Indians. Yeah. And then there was also immigration in the building, which is a whole.
two guys who work for Border Force.
The first 10 minutes of my set was about me living in London for 3 years on a 45-day visa. And towards the end, I realized these guys work for the border. It was a great trip, but yeah, I shat my pants.
That's hilarious. Like, obviously, well, they didn't come for cynical reasons or sinister.
No, yeah, the guy literally told me at the end of the show, like, I'm also a human being. I also want to laugh. I was like, okay, fair enough. I get it.
Yeah, luring me into a false sense of security.
Oh yeah, you can't trust those guys. It's Ram. Rule number 1: don't listen to them.
But how did you like? Because you were in Dublin recently. How did you find like? Yeah, I know that's like you're going home essentially when you're going to Ireland. But comparing going abroad, just going away for a gig, how did you feel when you're in Dublin?
In Dublin, I didn't feel that the audience was much different. Like there was, I did. How many shows did I do? I did 4 shows. One show, half the audience were from England. Like nearly everyone Eddie talked to was from Reading, Surrey. You know, they were either over in Dublin visiting for the weekend, or one of them. There was like a couple of cases where there was like a brother or a sister who lived in Dublin and family had come over to visit. Then the gig I did on the Sunday night, they were all Irish. It was in a neighborhood bar, city centre. You had a lot of tourists. I don't feel like the audience was any different. I felt I was slightly more relaxed. I definitely felt, you know, I guess you'd always have a slight bit of anxiety, you know, like I go to Hull and, you know, or I go to Birmingham or I go somewhere like that. There's always a tiny bit of me. I don't think it's real, but there's always a tiny bit of me that's sort of like, they mightn't really get me. Do you know what I mean? I might be a little bit alien to, but there's none of that in Dublin because I know that city so well. I just sort of feel like I can really kind of just be myself a little bit more. Like there's no second guessing myself at all, which was kind of nice. But the other thing I found funny about Dublin actually in reflection was when I go to events, right? Yeah. I'm someone in England now. I go to an event. If my pint runs out, I'll get up and get a pint. If I need to go to the toilet, I'll get up and go to the toilet. But most people, I think, in England, like it shows, if there's only another 5 minutes, they'll wait. You know what I mean? But in Dublin, everyone's like me. No one waits. You know what I mean? No, if your pint runs out and someone's like, I'll leave you on this bit, they're like, I'm not waiting. You know? And no, they weren't disrupting the show, but there was a bit moving in and out. So that was the only difference. Like the differences were what you would expect the differences between Ireland and England to be, in that people were no one, at no point did I hear anyone say, these are the rules, no talking, no being on your phone.
That's what I was going to ask about. I was going to ask about that because I would have thought. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no one says that. So now no one was, there was no malice in anybody. But there were like a couple of people who were drunk, who were a little bit disruptive. But now the other side of it too is, and again, this is like me knowing Ireland too. Like if I'm in other parts of the country that I'm not that familiar with, if someone's being disruptive, I wouldn't exactly know how hard I could be on them. But I know in Ireland, you can be as brutal as you want, and the person you're being brutal to will love it, right? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that's a kind of a cultural thing. So like, there was a couple in the front row being slightly disruptive, but like I knew that I could really hammer in on them and they would think it was funny. Right. But in other places I mightn't have that confidence to like there might be a little part of me that is, if I go too hard on them, they could get upset about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
but I would have thought that would have been a big. I would have thought that we talked about this a bit before that, like especially English men at shows sometimes think like I'm the funny. I need to establish myself. Like I'm alpha. I'm part of the show. And
Yeah.
like Dave at Comedy on the Farm. Like
Yeah.
I was wondering if the Irish mentality is more, like you said, more good natured, but also more likely to feel this is a communal event. Like we can all chip in. We can all sort of pipe up.
Yeah, there was definitely like at one of the gigs there was a girl who did keep chipping in. Like they'll chip in a bit, and I found like their sort of their attention span seemed a little bit less. But then like when you got the like I felt like the energy and the laughs were loud, like, you know.
Yes.
I think it's just like very subtle differences. I think the biggest difference was more in me, that I just felt very safe and comfortable there. And do you know what I mean? I had friends and family at the gigs too, so I didn't feel as isolated. Like, you know, I kind of knew, like in the unlikely, like nothing ever happens at gigs, like, you know, really, like, but I just knew if in the unlikely event that anything happened, everyone would be on my side. Whereas, you know, when you go to a city that you've never been before, there's a little part of you that kind of wonders if things kick off, will anyone be on my side? You know what I mean? They could all turn against me.
Yeah.
You know, but that's just that's just a tiny little bit of psychological fear, I suppose.
I think it's really. I mean, I'd love to know what you think, because we're chatting to Marcus about this last week, and we were sort of saying that I think it probably says a lot about difference in people's psychology. I feel a lot freer in America because no one knows me, and I don't have to deal with like British class stuff. Like no one's listening to my accent thinking like, where are you from?
Right.
What part of the social group?
Okay.
And Marcus was saying he feels the same thing about Australia. So when he's in Australia, no one's judging like, wait, whereabouts are you from? How much money did your parents have? What school did you go to? And it's easier to feel freer the further you go from home. I don't know if you have a similar.
I do feel more free in Paris, for example, like because I know like there's no judgmental Dutch people around, and I can make fun of Dutch people without Dutch people being in the room. But I do feel more at home whenever I go to the UK. Like I was in the Fringe with you guys. I was in London doing a bunch of gigs. Every time I do that, there's more people that look like me or like that have my background in the audience, and I feel more comfortable because they will get what I'm saying, or like they'll see the So for me, it does matter. Kind of like Jack, like people that kind of are on the same wavelength as me, if they're in the room, I feel more comfortable. Definitely.
Yeah, I get that. I get what you're saying too, though. I think if I had started comedy in Ireland, I would have found it harder, because at the start, I would have felt when I went on stage, everyone would have been making judgments about my background.
Yeah.
From how I looked and how I sounded. Whereas in Britain, I knew that wasn't an issue. Right. Do you know what I mean? Britain, people see everybody in Ireland as the same. They can't really tell the difference between us.
Yeah. And I think maybe exactly, that's interesting. You benefited from having that freedom somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now that you're getting to a really high level as a comic, none of that stuff bothers you anymore, because you know the jokes work, you know the bits work.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
What about like taking risks? Because for me, whenever I want to take risks, I feel more comfortable whenever I'm outside, like the Dutch bubble. I feel way more comfortable trying something.
Oh yeah, in Ireland, I felt I could have taken loads. I could have done loads of new material and stuff. Like I'd feel. I thought Ireland was interesting. Like I feel that the audience in Ireland, looking at other comedians, I feel the audience in Ireland will go places with you. Like and they definitely like stories, and they definitely like to go. I think they would have more openness to go to cerebral kind of places. They're not as, I don't think they get as impatient quickly if there's not a lot of laughs coming.
Right.
Interesting.
I think if you're saying stuff that's funny and interesting and bizarre, even if you're not getting a lot of big laughs, they like it. You know, I felt some of the comedy almost had a poetic almost, but like that's, you know, Tommy Tiernan is the superstar.
I was just going to say, if your most famous exponent, or like one of your best exponents of comedy is Tommy Tiernan, that's gonna. Because wasn't Hattie when we all did comedy on the farm last week, when Hattie was saying, if you always put it on a spectrum of like, you have American comedy at one end, it's like bang 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 bang, and then like English comedy is maybe a bit more in the middle, and Irish comedy is maybe even more poetic, even more lyrical, even more.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like I think it's hard to know. I think everyone like has variations. Like obviously Jimmy Carr is big here, and he's bang 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 bang, and you know it's. I think there's, and you know, I think people who perform everywhere say there's not really that much difference between everywhere. Like you kind of imagine that there is, like, and maybe a lot of it is yourself because, like, I think you know you're saying that you feel different in Britain to America. Marcus feels different in Australia, and I certainly felt a little bit different in Ireland. So it's a lot of it's just your
How
yourself.
you feel.
I think it's a little bit different, but the London gigs compared to outside London gigs, I always feel slightly different. I always feel I need to approach them slightly differently.
What's your like difference in approach typically?
I think my difference in approach is it's I think I find like the clever stuff. I think in London they like clever. They like clever stuff that's kind of in tune with the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
So it's, but I feel outside London they don't really give it. Like they're not impressed by that. Do you know what I mean? Give us a well-structured joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Comedy outside of London is way more entertainment than it is art.
Yes. Yeah. It's a bit more. You know, yeah, it's Saturday night entertainment. Like it's sort of, you know, they be. Well, you know, I was in Hull or whatever. Like a guy did a bit of juggle guitars. Like, you know what I mean? You know, I can't imagine people in London being as impressed with a bit of juggling and stuff like that as they would be outside it. It's a different kind of thing. Like, you know. Yes. I suppose outside London's a bit more Britain's Got Talent, and London's a bit more live at the Apollo, isn't it? Like,
yeah, exactly. I think one thing I've noticed about, I don't know if you think the same thing about European gigs, is the one big difference is I think they're a lot more into like language jokes and like puns and like math problems,
right?
Because they've all learned English as a second language, so they all understand English like a grammar level. So they, in terms of like cleverness, they probably appreciate more almost like Twitter type jokes, like jokes that like you expect to be like written or like read. They love it. It's like, oh, I see how you've subverted the word course and course, which different spellings and different. Whereas in England, I think people will be like, I don't really understand the grammar because I understand English innately, and I couldn't tell you the rule as to why, you know, the past tense or the whatever. Whereas here, it's like, oh yeah, it's really clever that
they learn it much later, so they kind of retain the grammar, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul
they get the grammar.
Comedy is about that, right? Like for language. Yeah,
Paul Taylor's guy is it English or American?
Yeah, English guy, but also does French comedy. He does a mixture of both. Yeah.
He the guy with the TV show. He does TV stuff.
I think so. He's like the biggest guy right now.
Erica showed me him because she lived in Paris and she used to watch him.
Yeah. So that's interesting that you can sort of do things that are a bit nerdier when you do European shows, I guess. And you'll get like big laughs, but in England, people will be like, "Oh, that's cute." Well,
I suppose without being too, presumptuous. Like if you're getting expats, you're probably getting highly intelligent people, like, aren't you?
For sure, yeah.
Like they're, you know, the people who get sent to other countries to work are usually smart.
Yeah, you had to go through the ropes. Yeah, definitely.
You're getting the A students.
Yeah, it's a lot of overachievers in that.
Overachievers
in that room.
I mean, they had to prove that they speak English in the first place. So.
Yeah. They're fluent in a second language. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're working in. They've got a visa to work in a different country, so they must be able to do something that someone there can't do. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which adds an interesting layer to the shows as well, because it takes away a bit of that Saturday night entertainment factor.
Yeah,
and it puts it more in an intellectual space, which means you can do more conceptual stuff. You can be a bit weirder, I think, than you maybe could.
That's
be.
Great, actually. That is great.
It's nice variety, right? Like I think you should be able to. Like we chatted about, I think you should be able to do both. I think you should be able to go into the Glee in Birmingham and knock out 20 minutes of just like
your best club set,
and then it's also fun to flex the muscles of. Oh, I wonder what this weird German voice I'm working on sounds like, or like, this weird language joke I've got.
Yeah, the more different gigs you do, the better. When I did the acting courses, like they were very much into getting you to do like you know, do it really angry, do it really sad, and then find a bit in the middle. But like the more you have to do, like subdued audience, high energy audience, all the different types of audience, it does hone it hones you. Like it's sort of like if you're playing sport at exactly the same tempo all the time, you won't develop as well as if every game has completely different tempo, like, you know.
Oh yeah, even if like say Premier League soccer is like super intense, but then you come up against an Italian team or a Spanish team, they might not be as physical as you, but if they're just playing at a different tempo, they can really fuck you up. And you
okay. Well, the Italian teams used to destroy teams because they slow everything down and they were so defensive. They didn't know how to play against them.
I mean, to be honest, when we first started doing comedy on the farm, we saw that a lot. So there's a lot of comics who came in from, not a lot, a few comics who came in from like brilliant comics who were doing like the Comedy Store Manchester, just a tonic. And they sort of came in with that Friday night energy of like, I'm going to have to deal with pissed, angry Northerners. And our crowd is so like lovely and nice that they were like, "Oh, you fucking da. And people were like,
okay.
And they would not bomb, but like come pretty close to bombing.
Yeah.
And it was just because they were playing at a different tempo than the audience.
I think that happened at COVID. I think, you know, because the gigs got smaller and, you know, people were a bit more spread out. And I remember seeing a few acts who would have been very used to playing bigger rooms, packed rooms. Yeah. And then when they were coming into the smaller rooms, it's almost like a different game. Like, and I remember thinking at the time, because I was so used to doing shitty rooms, because I was coming up the other way, like I felt I was doing well, and then I was getting rebooked a lot to do them. But like it was sort of like, oh, what, 13 people spread around the room, half interested. Yeah, fucking, I know this room.
This was my best gig of last week.
But how did you feel when you played a bigger room when you were in that stage? Would you get like annoyed when people were laughing a lot?
No. I think when you're on the way up, I think the bigger rooms, the excitement, you've got that, you know, you've got such excitable energy. For sure. That, you know, and I think one of the great things in the bigger rooms is you can't, I don't think you can ever be too much in the big, I don't really think you can, like, you know. I think my kind of go to, if you're unsure yourself in a big room, go bigger than you think you should. Like, I think, you know, I think you can go too low. Now, I don't think the optimum performance is going at your maximum, like, but if you're unsure, go big. Yeah. You know, I think it'll carry you through. So your next gig, your next weekend, you're doing Copenhagen, is it?
Yeah. So doing this, it's a bar that does a lot of comedy called No Stress. So I think we started selling tickets already, right?
Yeah.
Tickets are moving already. So
which is weird because we didn't even put any ad out until this morning. Yeah. And people just found it on Eventbrite and they were like, you know what? I like this poster and the description. I'm just going to get the ticket. I was like, oh,
that's great. And what night? Friday night, is it?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. Yeah, you said that.
So again, it's just good to like for all of us to like bear in mind for the future. No English language shows in Copenhagen on Friday or Saturday.
None.
So I'm going to stay and do a show on the Monday, and just going to try and meet a few people and be like, I don't know, man, like why couldn't in future? I'd love to have like a nice space similar to like what we did in Stockholm, and maybe do a Saturday and then like a Friday in Malmo, just like across the river.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? So you're staying there tonight? Are you coming back to England and then going to Copenhagen? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we've like the planning was all very last minute and very like, fuck it, let's go. It's just
right.
So I think in future, any of these types of things, there's definitely ways of doing it where like
pack it into a weekend.
You could do like 3 cities in a weekend if you.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like you could do like feasibly, you could do like Liverpool, Nottingham, whatever over like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? Similar
kind of distance between them. You should definitely do next year. Do the Faversham Fringe. I did it this year. It's brilliant.
Yeah, how was that? You said you sold out your session, didn't you?
Sold out 40 people, like sold out, and I didn't do. I think I did one Instagram post that tried to pay for it, but I don't think I executed it properly because I didn't get charged for it. So, and I didn't see it. Like, you know, like I'm guessing because I haven't figured out how to, like, I have done Facebook ads in the past. You know, you do a Facebook ad and you get like the results. Obviously, that must happen on Instagram too.
Yeah.
Pretty much, pretty similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. So I still haven't figured out how to do Instagram ads. Thought I did one, but I didn't.
Next time,
You're gonna fix that.
yeah, next time I'm having a beer, I'll show you how to have a look.
Show me, yeah. But they had like they do up a good program. It's not that long. They've every Saturday for a couple of weeks building up to it. They do a market stall, and from what I'm hearing back, I think most people sold pretty well without doing.
That's great.
That's great.
That's, you know,
Edinburgh should take some notes.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Did I tell you what Marcus said after you left about Edinburgh?
No,
I mean, it's on the pod.
I need to watch that pod actually because
Yeah, it's
Eric
good.
watched it.
It's annoying. It cuts out like 15 minutes. My camera stopped recording 15 minutes before the end. But
oh right.
we have like a really nice chat. But part of the thing he talks about is the guy. I forget the name of the guy who founded the Fringe. But someone asked him this year, "What would you do with it to move it forward?" And he's like, "Bomb it, blow it up." He's like, "I would just start again in a different city."
Wow.
He's like, "It's toast."
It's done. That's the guy who originally set the whole thing up.
Started it. Yeah, he's just like
Yeah.
it's not like in terms of if you think of it as a breeding ground for new talent or as a place to like try out your new hour. There are other places you could do that.
You can do that, yeah.
And get better feedback and whatever.
Yeah.
I think you can't replace the fun, right? You can't replace every comic in the world being there and like having great crack and all that. But you know, I've been thinking about more like maybe like running a compilation show and just getting on other compilation shows for like a week would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I do think the boot camp, like, I'm definitely going to apply next year. And I've applied already for the Free Fringe, but I'm going to go and just try to do as many shows as I can again because I did like a gig last night and like I definitely improved a lot. Like there's no doubt in my mind that Edinburgh really elevated me a lot, and I think it did just because a lot of stage time, gigging a lot of time when I wasn't in the mood to gig, gigging in a lot of rooms that I didn't really want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate, I agree completely. And that's kind of what I mean. It's like if you could pack in. So if you say like, I'm going to go for 10 days, my goal is it's my boot camp. I'm packing in 21 shows, 8 days class. Like you can't really do that anywhere else. So like,
no, I don't think you can do that anywhere else. But I see what he means. Like I do think, you know, you have a few like Leicester, you have a few of these kind of places. I don't think one of them's got Brighton, but I don't think one of them's got big enough yet. But I think you know, if one got to like half the size of Edinburgh on its way up, I think very quickly everyone would move.
Yeah, because I guess it's like, what do you need it to be? The only reason, I guess the question is like, why do you need it to be big? Like, if you want to like try your hour, provided you have 50 people or 60 people you can do it to, does it need to be big as a festival? Versus like getting loads of stage time, it does need to be big because you need to have.
Yeah, no, I look, I think you know the big problem with Edinburgh is, and you know, maybe not, I shouldn't be saying this, but like, I think the famous act shouldn't be there. Yeah. And I think if like that's kind of the issue, you know, it was supposed to be for emerging talent, new talent, and find new people, and like famous acts are going there. They'd sell out anyway. They're going there to cash out, and like I think they're taking away a little bit from the spirit of it a bit because they're taking audience away from everybody else, and I think that's probably, and I won't say who, but like a famous comedian I gigged with once, he said that to me once, and the minute he said that to me, I was like, yeah, he basically just said they shouldn't be going, like, do you know what I mean? They, you know, they're rich, they're famous, they can put on a tour anywhere and sell out. Why are they going to Edinburgh? Like, do you know what I mean? And that's the, but you can understand why people do it commercially and blah blah blah. But like, I think if you took away the marquee acts, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And those bigger stages were being used to like push people who are capable of doing like, who are doing regular club 20s, who are capable of doing
the next level of those people. Yeah,
and
yeah.
using it to like push those people up. That's one thing. So we're going to run out of time in 2 seconds. One thing I would say about like doing these shows, what exposes you to is the level of competence required to go from like, if you brought like a comedy store headliner, I think you wouldn't be getting much more out of them. It's interesting, like the level of competence of comics, I think, is probably way higher than it ever used to be.
Right.
Like there's probably more people who can do more.
Oh, that's 100%. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah.
Than there's ever been. So like,
yeah.
Something like what you're saying, where, you know, if you allow those people just to step up to the next level, I think audiences would love it. Audiences wouldn't know much of a difference unless you're in like really difficult rooms, big rooms, pressure situations. Obviously, that's when pros really step up and earn their money.
Oh yeah, but there would be a level just below the really famous who would be able to do that. Those rooms.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You just need the moment.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, buddy, anything you want to end on? We've got 1 minute 50 seconds.
No, just congratulations, lads. Well done. Conquered Sweden, now off to conquer Denmark.
Yeah, we're like reverse tiny Vikings.
Reverse Vikings, fair play to you.
Yeah. Well, you have yourself a lovely day, bud, and catch up when we get back to London.
Will do, yeah. Cheers. Thanks a million, lads. Take it easy.
Cheers, buddy. Speak to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tom and Jack having a crack. Tom and Jack having a crack.